What if I told you that some of the facts you've known your entire life are not facts at all? That things repeated in classrooms, written into books, and casually dropped at dinner tables are built on nothing but repetition and a dash of imagination. Myths don't just live in ancient temples or epic poems, they sneak into everyday life, dressed as truth, and once they're in, they're hard to kick out. Today we're counting down 5 myths that turned out to be completely false. And I promise at least one of these will make you stop and go, wait, what? Before we dive in, quick favor, hit that like button, subscribe, and comment the wildest myth you believed as a kid. I want to see which one embarrasses you the most. All right, let's start busting. Number 5. Vikings wore horned helmets. You've seen it in cartoons, operas, heavy metal album covers, and video games. A Viking stomps into battle, his helmet sprouting dramatic horns, ready to terrify his enemies. It's one of the most iconic images in popular culture, and it's completely wrong. Archaeological digs of Viking graves have turned up weapons, tools, jewelry, and yes, helmets. But here's the kicker, not a single helmet with horns. The myth actually comes from 19th century costume designers working on Wagner's Ring Cycle operas. They wanted something theatrical, something larger than life. Horns looked cool, so horns became the costume. The image stuck, and suddenly, Vikings were forever branded as horned raiders. In reality, Viking helmets were simple and practical, often made of iron or leather. Some may not have worn helmets at all. The horned version would have been a nightmare in real battle. Imagine trying to fight with 2 giant handles on your head, just begging for an enemy to grab. Cool in cartoons, but useless in combat. So, the next time you see a horned Viking in a video game, know you're looking at opera propaganda, not history. Number 4. The Great Wall of China is visible from space. You've probably heard this one in school. The Great Wall of China is the only man-made structure visible from space. It sounds amazing, like this ancient engineering marvel is so colossal even astronauts can wave at it. But ask the astronauts, and they'll tell you it's a myth. The wall is huge, no doubt over 13,000 miles long, but it's also narrow and built to blend into the hills and mountains it crosses. From orbit, it's the same color as the ground. Astronauts report that with the naked eye it's nearly impossible to see. City lights, giant airports, and even highways show up much better. The myth likely started as a misunderstanding. People assumed longest structure equals visible from space, visible. In reality, unless you've got a zoom lens and perfect lighting, the Great Wall is as invisible as your neighbor's driveway from an airplane. So no, Neil Armstrong didn't point it out while stepping on the moon. Sorry, textbooks. Number 3. Napoleon was extremely short. Napoleon, the man, the myth, the pocket-sized emperor. Or was he? The image of Napoleon as comically small with a massive ego has been used as an insult for 2 centuries. But history says he wasn't short. Official records put him at about 5'6" to 5'7", tall around 1.68 to 1.70 meters. That was average height for a Frenchman of his time. So where did the tiny Napoleon myth come from? 2 places: measurement confusion and propaganda. The French used a different inch system than the British. Their French inch was longer, so when his height was converted into British units it looked shorter. Add to that British propaganda during the Napoleonic Wars, portraying him as a little corporal, and the myth snowballed. Caricatures exaggerated him as a pint-sized tyrant, and the joke stuck. Was he tall? No, but he wasn't abnormally short either. Average height, big ambition. And that's a far more accurate picture than the cartoon version we all grew up with. Number 2. Einstein failed math in school. This one gets rolled out in motivational speeches everywhere. Even Einstein failed math. It's supposed to reassure you that failure is the path to greatness. The problem: Einstein never failed math. By the time he was 15, Einstein was already mastering calculus. He excelled in mathematics from an early age. The myth comes from a misunderstanding of his school's grading system. In one system, a low number was a bad grade. In another, a low number was a high grade. When his grades got translated later, people thought he failed when he actually excelled. Einstein himself laughed at the idea. In interviews, he said he was always good at math and his teachers knew it. He struggled with some subjects like languages, but never math. So if you've been clinging to this myth as motivation, it's time to find a new hero. Einstein wasn't a math failure, he was a math prodigy. Number 1. Humans only use 10% of their brains. This one refuses to die. Movies love it. Self-help books love it. Unlock the other 90% of your brain. It sounds incredible, like you're sitting on a superpower. But neuroscience says, nope. Brain imaging shows humans use almost every part of the brain throughout the day, even when sleeping. Different regions light up depending on what you're doing, problem-solving, moving, remembering, even dreaming. The idea that 90% of the brain is just idle is pure myth. The origin likely comes from early psychology in the 1900s, when scientists admitted they didn't fully understand the brain. That admission somehow turned into, we only use 10%. It spread because it's catchy, but it's wrong. Your brain is more like a city at night. Some areas are brighter than others depending on the activity, but the whole thing is alive. So unless you're a zombie, you're already using 100% of your brain. So there you have it. 5 myths busted wide open. Vikings never wore horned helmets. The Great Wall isn't visible from space. Napoleon wasn't unusually short. Einstein didn't fail math. And your brain isn't running at 10% capacity. The real lesson here, myths stick because they're easy, dramatic, and memorable. Truth is usually more complicated and less flashy. But if you want to understand the world, you've got to question the stories you're told. Which one of these myths shocked you the most? And do you have another myth you'd like us to bust in a future video? Drop it in the comments. I might feature your suggestion next. If you enjoyed this, hit subscribe and stick around, because this is just the beginning. We've got more myths, more legends, and more truths coming your way, and trust me, some of them will blow your mind.